Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 15 of Material Issues. Hello, my friend David Bash. How are you tonight?
Hello, Mark. Doing really well, thanks. I hope you are too.
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. I lost about 8 pounds via the haircut today.
Yeah, I see that.
So that was good.
Happening.
It's happening.
The hair is happening.
I went from Brady Bunch, Michael Brady, circa 1972, to I don't know. I keep saying Andy Partridge kind of look to it, but a lot lighter here in the Northeast where it's 97 degrees. But and of always your wardrobe is always fantastic.
I just spilled some paint on this white shirt. That's all.
What do you got? What's new, David? What do you got going on?
Well, yesterday I was able to set up another IPO. We're going to have our usual trilogy in November. New York, followed by Boston, and now followed by Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. That's right. November 25th through 27th, we'll be back in Hamilton at a venue we hadn't used before called the Casbah, but it came very highly recommended, and I've spoken to the owner, and he's a good guy, and I think this is going to be great. So I'm looking forward to it. I've checked in with the travel situation now, what needs to be done. You have to, if you're from the U.S. and coming over, you have to show you have to have a vaccination card and a COVID-19 negative test taken within 72 hours of your trip. So,
good. But at least everybody in the greater Hamilton, Ontario area, which is a great music area, knows that IPO is coming back now. So
they're starting to know. I made an announcement on Facebook a few hours ago, and I've seen good response. So yeah, I'm going to start inviting bands. Otherwise, I am so waiting for the Beach Boys Feel Flows box. I should have hopefully tomorrow or at the latest Friday.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, this is a box set celebrating what I think are their two best albums, actually, Sunflower and Surf's Up. And not only is there remastered versions of those albums, but there's all kinds of outtakes, demos, some live stuff. It's 5 discs worth, and there's a lot of things on there. I've heard the music. There are a lot of things on there that I had never heard before, including several previously unreleased Dennis songs, Dennis Wilson. In fact, you could probably make an album of the Dennis Wilson songs that could have come out at that time. The story is he had nothing on Surf's Up, and the reason for that is he had some disagreement with the Beach Boys manager Jack Riley at the time, and because of that, he said there were going to be some songs scheduled to be on the album, and he pulled them. But so a lot of them just sat previously unreleased.
Yeah.
Not anymore. This box is coming out on the 27th, Friday, and it'll be in a CD. The deluxe, super deluxe will be the CD box. Then there'll be a vinyl box with 4 LPs, which will have most of the stuff on the CD box. And there'll be some smaller ones also, in case you don't want to spend the big money.
Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to your review of the whole thing, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think by the time we're on next week, I'll have written the review, and it'll be up on rockandrollglobe.com. In the meantime, though, I wanted to do a public service announcement before we bring our guests on. I have a special guest of my own. Yes, none other than Mr. Albert Einstein, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, let's hear a big round of applause for Big Al here.
That's nice.
This is a public service announcement. So, Albert, I have to ask you, do you think everybody in the world should be vaccinated right now? Yeah, I kind of agree. So do you think people should believe in science over hokum? Yeah. What do you think of the IQ level of a lot of people who won't get vaccinated? Is there hope for any of these people? Yeah. I kind of agree. Well, Albert, thank you. I think hopefully people will will respect your opinion. After all, you are a man of science. You're not a man of foolishness. You don't watch Fox News. You don't subscribe. You don't follow advice from people with Facebook doctor's degrees. You go with what really makes sense. You always have. Yes, everything's relative. That's right. Ha ha. Well, thank you again. Thank you again, my good man. Oh, yeah. He's saying you're welcome. And he's saying, hi, Mark.
Do you write your own material, Albert?
He's wondering why you got that F in biology.
Yeah, it's because I didn't have you sitting on my desk bobbing your head up and down.
We'll see you next week, Albert.
All right, Albert.
Same bat time, same bat channel. All right.
Well, and speaking of next week, real quick, we'll talk about it at the end, but we're hopefully to have Frank Hammersland of Pogo Pops and Popium out of Bergen, Norway, with us next week. So stay tuned for updates on that. But we've got a great show tonight.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, these guys have been around forever, it seems, and there's a special anniversary going on. But man, I've fell in love with every single thing they've ever done. But David, please bring them on and welcome them.
I certainly will. I've been a fan of this band since the mid-'90s when I met them when they came out to L.A. to record with the great Keith Olsen. At that time, they had recently released what's still my favorite album of theirs, Mind Flip, which Keith also produced, but I didn't know them yet. They came out, I believe they played Poptopia as well, or if they didn't play it, they attended it. Then they came out and played IPO a few times. They've played it all over the world, actually. The two main men who we're about to introduce came out to Liverpool one year and played some songs for us at the Cavern. But they are an amazing pop band, and it's not the kind of stuff that you generally can get in one listen. There's a lot of nuance to it and a lot of very unpredictable chord changes. But they are brilliant, and we're honored to have them. So we're going to introduce the two main men, and then we're going to introduce a young gentleman who sang on their new EP and who's a great singer-songwriter in his own right. He's coming all the way from Manchester, UK. Not even Manchester, New Hampshire, all the way further. Yeah. So,
further?
All right, without further ado, I would like to introduce, in succession, Mr. Tim Rose and Mr. Doug Bobenhouse of Sun Sod and Half, and Mr. James Holt from Manchester. Welcome,
good evening.
Gentlemen.
Welcome. Material Issues episode 15. What a pleasure to have Tim and Doug from the Sun Sod and Half. Let's see here. Unmute.
James, unmute your mic. There you go.
I got him. We're all good. Welcome.
Wow.
I can do everything from this side except control your Einstein.
Mark knows how to take care of a gentleman in need. That's what I hear.
But all right.
Yes. So anyway, it's so great to see you guys. As I mentioned in the introduction, I don't know how much you remember about those early days out here in LA, but I was a huge fan. I was already a huge fan when I met you guys. Having heard Mind Flip, thanks to Jordan Oakes of Yellow Pills, he wrote a review of it. I didn't even realize at the time that you had two previous albums. But tell us, I mean, how did you guys meet? You're both from St. Louis originally?
Yeah.
So how did this John and Paul type union come about?
Wow. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. So I one night went to a small bar called Cicero's for what was an open mic night. There was I had a friend who suggested that I go to Cicero's because they hosted this open mic night, and he thought maybe I would like to sing something there. And I went one night with my friend Libby, and there was a band hosting, and it was the incarnation of the Sun Sod and Half that existed at the time. And I said to Libby, if I could be in any band, it would be that kind of band. It was just a lot of melodic stuff, really quirky, weird rhythms and melodies, and really fun. And so the next week, I brought my guitar back to Cicero's to try to sign up for open mic night again. And I got there just a little bit late. and did not get on the list. But Tim was sitting there next to me at a different table, and I said, you guys were really great last week. Do you have anything released? And he said, we're working on something, but our singer's moving to Portland. And I said, well, I can sing. And he said, let's go out on the street then and show me what you got. And so
he played Rosemary by Lenny Kravitz on the steps of Cicero's bar, and I thought, that's perfect. I mean, Doug has the quintessential perfect pop voice. It's a little bit, yeah. It's just like Glenn Tilbrook, Dennis DeYoung, Robin Zander, all of these great high timbre voices that really cut through. He could sing without the PA on and be louder than the rest of the band, and that was amazing. From that moment, 30 years ago, it's been 30 years, Doug.
No, that's not. It can't be true.
It's true.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I know
true.
it doesn't look like it is, but it is.
No, I keep getting younger.
What did you guys both bring to the table in terms of the band? I assume you had similar music influences, but also some disparate ones.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just back up a second. My brother and I started the band a year beforehand, and it was an offshoot of my high school rock band. And so he and I really built the foundation of what the band was going to sound like. My brother was heavy into Jefferson Airplane. He loved Yorma and Jack Cassidy's bass playing. He liked the 60s, the Byrds, the Zombies. That was his thing. I wanted to be Pete Townsend. I wanted to be loud. I wanted to be punk. But I also was completely enamored with Brian Wilson, which was kind of counterintuitive of being a punk, being really into the orchestration and all the details. But we started that foundation. Doug came, and I think what he did was he gave us a professional, polished, fantastic presence. He also brought a whole lot of fans and a whole lot of
still working on the
girls.
presence part. It's like you guys were into that stuff. I was super into like Squeeze and Crowded House and Split Ends and the Beatles and the Who, of course, but it was really some of that sort of mid early 80s kind of British pop stuff and Australian and New Zealand pop that really was doing it for me at the time.
Now, did you guys both have musical instruction, learning through grade school, high school?
Not at all. No.
Some piano lessons as a very young kid, and then maybe some guitar lessons that I didn't take very seriously.
I'm totally self-taught. I don't know how to read music or pretty much do anything. I
think James does though. James is super. Like he can kick both of our asses in that
in a
sort
nanosecond.
Yeah.
James,
I just play by ear.
You're a lot younger than all of us. What's your background? Because when I hear your music, obviously I hear some very classic influences. I don't hear hip hop. I don't hear auto tune. John Mayer kind of stuff. So what are your influences?
Kind of my musical journey started when I was 5, and I just started to take piano lessons, and then from there I kind of gradually started to accumulate and learn more instruments over the next 10 years, and then and it was really I really just kind of got obsessed with the Beatles when I was 16, and and thought that would go down well. But I got obsessed with them. I kind of grew my hair out. I'd started to sort of talk like them in a way, and they really got me into writing songs, and because I wanted to write songs like them. And previous to that, I would only really sort of compose instrumental pieces, like piano pieces and orchestral pieces, and and really as well, I hadn't really sung, especially not kind of live in front of anybody else, up to that point. And I think it was the Beatles who kind of, I don't know, they kind of brought my voice out of me. So I've always been quite grateful for that. And yeah, and just since then, I've just sort of gone on this journey of writing songs, releasing music, meeting people from all around the world, like Tim, who has introduced me to you guys as well. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. It was Maxwell's Silver Hammer for me. That's all I got to say.
This is all it's interesting, and also apropos to something I wanted to bring up. There's a Chicago, and I don't mean any disrespect towards this gentleman, but there's a Chicago song writer, journalist named Greg Cott, who about 9 years ago wrote an article in which he posits that the Velvet Underground had a more profound influence on music than the Beatles, and I think he's full. I think he's absolutely crap. I think that's the indie cool voice just trying to kind of trying to get a foothold into this thing. But and don't get me wrong. I mean, Velvet Underground did have a much more profound influence than a lot of people realize, but more than the Beatles. I mean, James, being as young as he is, the argument is, well, he influenced indie rock and punk rock, and all these young bands really revere them. And then James comes in and says, no, it was the Beatles for me. I think it's still the Beatles for a lot of young musicians, a lot more than Velvet Underground.
Yeah,
so
all you gotta do is watch that latest Paul McCartney show and realize the interview show that he just recently did, and it's you realize how crazy innovative they were being for their time, especially. I mean, that they were breaking all of the rules. I mean,
right.
I mean, they showed everybody else how to break the rules and not care so much about the structure and the science of the studio. They just said, screw that stuff. Let's try everything we can try.
Yeah. So for me, the Beatles were the biggest influence as well. Because when I was 12 years old, I took my grandmother to a record store to buy Kiss Destroyer. And she looked at the cover and she said, this can't be good music. They look like clowns. This must be clown music. And I said, well, I want it. She said, well, I'm not going to buy it for you. If you must listen to rock and roll, why don't you listen to something good? And she pulled out the Beatles' Red album, the 62 to 66. She said, I'll buy this for you. And I thought, who's this? This is like grandpa's music. I don't know what it is. Anyway, it got home. I didn't take it out of the shrink wrap. I'm bored one day. I take it out. I put it on the turntable and I say, I know this song. Oh, I know this song. They wrote this song? Holy crap. This is the best music ever. So I took my dad's reel-to-reel tape deck. He had an old Sony tape deck. And I took it to the slowest speed and I recorded every Beatles song on a one reel thing, and I would go to sleep at night and I would put it on and go to sleep to the Beatles every night for years. And it was a really weird obsession that I had, that I wanted to know every single song they did and how they did it. And I broke it all apart as a middle schooler. It's never left me. And the only thing that's changed beyond that was discovering the Beach Boys. But
and all of that really, without formal music training, the detail that you guys put into your music, as David and I were talking before you guys even came on tonight, it's just the detail and the little things with repeat listenings. I didn't hear that before, and that was very, very much my thing when I was young with the Beatles. Is like, wow, I listened to that again. I didn't hear that before.
Exactly.
And with the Sun Sod half, the magic is in the details, and
it is
little things that. And I was going to ask you a little later on at some point, like, what is your decision making process when you decide I'm going to put this sound in this song, which is maybe a sound that I've never heard on any other song you did before. Then the next song has the same kind of thing. It's like, let's just let's just pull this sound out of our hats and say,
well, it's a good question. I've spent a lot of time over the last 2 years listening to music that I would never normally listen to. Listen to Phineas and Tyler, the Creator, and listening to music that is so out of my wheelhouse. And listening to interviews with Phineas where he's talking about just taking his iPhone around and recording things on the street, which is not, he's not the first person to do this, but then taking them and turning them to samples. And with Logic, you can do that. And so that's what I started to do. Started to just close doors or turn on the faucet and play around with things and make sounds that aren't just
Can I interrupt
stock.
you for 1 second, Tim? I want to talk about that because it's like the going into COVID and the lockdown. One of the things that I said to Tim, I was like, you have a studio in your computer, right?
Right.
And I said, why don't you learn Logic? And little did I know the Pandora's box that I was opening when I suggested that Tim learn this. But to his credit, he went and devoured every last little tutorial online, and rather than being dependent on others to record us, he spent the time necessary to figure out how to capture and the ideas that were swirling around in his head, which is really a great thing for all of us who like to be on these records that Tim puts together. And I feel like I have a contribution, but really and truly, these are Tim's tunes mostly. And so the idea that Tim had to like watch people like Phineas talk about how he's making music with his sister and all these other great people on YouTube that you can basically learn from just by watching them. They're doing stuff just like we're doing here, and they're talking about how they do it. And the fact that this kind of the technology is accessible to anybody now is just crazy. I mean, you can have a phone and you could produce a whole record on your phone if you want. It's amazing.
As many have done, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredible.
Now I know that you guys. I know that most artists don't like to talk about their old music that much. But your first here's the interesting thing, because your first two albums have all kinds of different influences that I hear, including a lot of jazz and some soul. And they're certainly not very accessible right away. I mean, like we were talking about, the details take a few listens to fully absorb. But then came this album, Mind Flip, which I guess was the first one that Keith Olsen produced. And this is an immediate ear candy, just joyful explosion of pop sounds.
Thanks.
What? Yeah, I mean, I love this album, and it took one listen. Not that I haven't heard it several times after, but it took pretty much one listen to get most of it. Was it Keith's idea that you do something a little bit more commercial, or had you written these songs already and just present them to him?
Yeah, Keith kicked our ass. Let's just say that. We had all of those songs ready, with the exception of Fall, which I co-wrote with Keith. We had a whole record ready, but we had a slightly different band. We had the lead guitarist, Jeff, who was on the first two records. He was a lot more into the jazz, into the intricate Ornette Coleman, Steely Dan thing. Dave Farver, who's on our new records, was our sax player at the time. He was producing all kinds of really cool sounds. And the two of them, along with our drummer, Bill Yeager, was doing something very almost Zappa-ish on our first two records.
Yes.
So we got a new drummer, Steve Funk, for Mind Flip. And then all of the guitar duties kind of fell onto me when Jeff and Dave left. So we lost that whole world of sound. We felt naked and exposed. And Keith said the secret to that is just turn the shit up. So he was playing us at the time Bush and Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana and Pearl Jam, He said, "Man up." He was telling Doug to drink Southern Comfort before he sang. We're out in LA. He's telling us these great stories of recording with Rick Springfield and Barry White and Hart and so forth. Anyway, the result was he brought out the inner Townsend. He gave me a guitar that was hand built for him by Leo Fender, playing through an amp that Jim Marshall built for Keith. He said, "Turn this up to 11. Let's rock." So we had already kind of gone that way with our new drummer, Steve Bunk, who was a Bunny Carlos devotee. So we were headed into the Cheap Trick world for Mind Flip before we met Keith, but Keith took it and pushed it to 11.
You really did. Yeah, the production's very clean on that album too, by the way.
Yeah.
It's which again helps bring out any nuances that might be there.
The other thing about that is that we were playing really regularly as a band at that point. And the first two records, we were playing, but not nearly as often. And I think, by the time we recorded Fizzy Lift, we were a working band. And I think that we had just gotten a lot tighter as players.
I remember the sessions, some of the sessions for Fizzy Lift. You kindly invited me out to them in Malibu, and I met Keith there. I remember about 7 takes of Denny's Girl for sure. I also remember Keith was one hell of a kick-ass ping pong player. I was pretty good, and I said, I'm going to play him and see what happens. And then you guys did, and I saw how good he was, and was like, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you and Keith hook up in the first place? Because he'd been producing Fleetwood Mac and so many huge acts.
That's a great story. We were playing a music showcase in Nashville, and we at that time had got a lot of buzz from winning the regional Yamaha Billboard Ticketmaster Soundcheck Best Unsigned Band thing. So a lot of people were coming up to us and giving us their cards and promising us the moon, as they do at that point in your
including
career.
Kim Fowley.
Oh my God.
Hours on the phone with Kim Fowley. That's another story.
Yeah.
Anyway, Keith came up to me. I had no idea who he was. I thought, okay, he said, "I really loved your band. I loved the songs. If you want to make a kick-ass record, call me." And he hands me his card. I threw it in my guitar case with all the promo stuff. Got back to St. Louis. I'm sifting through the stuff, and I see Keith Olsen, and I'm thinking, this sounds familiar. And I'm looking at my records, and I pick out Fleetwood Mac. I say, produced by Keith Olsen. I pull out Santana, produced by Keith Olsen. It's like, Pat Benatar, The Grateful Dead. Holy crap. So I call him on the phone. I say, "Hi, Keith, you remember me? You gave me your card?" It's like, "Yeah, I think so. Which one were you?" I said, "Were you the guys that sound like Squeeze?" And I said, "Yeah, that's us." "Okay, great. Let's make a record." So that's how we met. And at the time, he was doing surround sound mixes for Tom Petty and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Lenny Kravitz. So we had to wait 6 months to get out there and start recording. But he had set up Sound City, and Goodnight LA was his little wing of Sound City. So we learned an awful lot about the business. We were naive farm boys from Missouri. By the time we got out to LA, we were just stars in our eyes. Keith gave us a Lexus, a whole bunch of cash.
Whoa,
we got to stay in his house. And his girlfriend was to borrow. Said, "Do yourself a favor, enjoy LA. It's on me." So anyway, we had a really great experience doing that. And we stayed friends with him for a number of years until he passed last year.
Oh, wow.
How did you come up with the name "The Sun Sod in Half"? When I hear names that I don't from which I can't discern an origin, I usually think it's from a movie or a book because I'm so illiterate in both of those areas.
This is my brother's doing. My brother Ken came up with this. We were rehearsing. We didn't know what we were going to be called. And we went outside after practicing, and there was a little newspaper kiosk. And there was a tabloid paper that had entered St. Louis. It had only been around for a couple of editions, called the St. Louis Sun, similar to the Sun in the UK. And the headline was Sawed in Half. It was about this guy in the middle of Missouri who went belly to blade with a circular saw.
Oh,
And he said, but 5 years later, he's fishing and mowing the lawn. And the quote was, "I don't care what happens to the rest of me as long as my trigger finger is intact." And my brother said, "Wouldn't that be really cool? What are you going to do Friday?" "Oh, man, I'm going to go watch the sun sawed in half." I thought,
Oh, wow.
But the one thing we knew is that we would never have to share that name with another band.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. You what was it? Much of your music has we talked, detail, orchestration, and whatnot, but you use real horns.
Yeah.
At least early on.
we still do.
I'm sure throughout, and that's I can tell the difference. You can get the feel
Right.
for things, and that's a wonderful thing to do. Unlike so many acts that you hear where it's all computer based.
Having Dave as a sax player, and he's like the best in the city of St. Louis. Having him play and having him describe what the difference is, because to me, I couldn't do the Folgers taste test, but he can tell, and now I can tell. But back then, it was like, oh well, look, it sounds pretty good on the Korg.
Yeah.
No, so we've had the opportunity to do that, and that's just one of the things I wanted to talk about, James. During the pandemic, there were a lot of musicians who were out of work, and there was a company out of Lisbon, Portugal, called Musiversal, and they had the brainchild to amass the most talented people around the world and give them day jobs during the pandemic. And that included James and a bunch of horn players, cellists, vocalists, drummers, etc. So that has been a real godsend for the new stuff that we've just done, because it's introduced us to people we would have met elsewise. So,
well, that kind of goes back to sorry, chiming in. The idea that Tim was able to record, the sketches or demos of all these tunes, and then sort of gradually go to Musiversal and find players to actually play better versions of what Tim had sketched out on the computer, right? So it's like, he plays a bass part or he does a drum part with a drum machine, and then has a different somebody come in and actually replace that with a live part that really brings it to life, which was a spectacular way to be able to work during a time when none of us could get together in the same place and work.
Yeah, Doug and I were the only two who actually met up. We met up like five or six times in Chicago and recorded together, but everyone else, we did it all virtually.
Right.
Which is amazing.
It's the new normal.
It's a new normal.
Yeah.
Now, was James? Were you a Sun Sod and Half fan prior to really getting to know Tim, or did you have to go back and listen through the whole catalog and say this is all pretty good stuff?
Well, this is kind of like where I was introduced to like Tim's music, because I work for Musiversal, and Tim just booked me for a session, and I think like I'd kind of repeat what you said earlier about his music being so intricate, because we're only allowed like each session is always supposed to be like 30 minutes. And like I remember like the first, like just receiving the first songs, and just to like comprehend it all, but there's so many different sections in the song. It was just like I don't know. It was. I think we needed to do like a few sessions at first, just for me to understand, the like kind of geography of the piece. And like I think from there we kind of realized we had this shared love of the Beatles and like power pop, because I hadn't even heard of power pop like previous to this. It was Tim who sort of introduced me to this sort of concept of genre of music, and I'm very grateful for him for that. because it sort of introduced me to this world that I had no idea about. So yeah, it's and I think kind of gradually I've kind of become, because I just started to, like, I think our sessions, it was more of like at first I was just sort of playing along to what Tim had already recorded, and then I think as we went along, I think you sort of said, well, how about you just sort of throw your ideas in there and see what we can make, and it sort of turned into this sort of collaborative process.
Well, I listened to James' music on YouTube, and I thought, holy crap, this guy knows what he's doing. It blew me away. Just like a little knockoff of Strawberry Fields Forever, where he plays all the instruments, but it's brilliant. And I thought,
it really is. I'm very impressed with James.
So I thought, this is not. It would be really presumptuous of me just to give him a keyboard part that I had worked out and say, just play it a little bit better. So I booked a lot of sessions together with him, and we kind of built the songs, like the structures of the songs. There's one called Falling in Slow Motion that's got this cascading pianos with these synth strings. It's just lovely, but it also sounds like a little wind-up Victorian music box at the same time. We did a song called Starling that is similar like that. And then one called A Better Place, which is kind of a Led Zeppelin pastiche. But what he brought to it is just fantastic. And I can't wait for that to be finished.
Are you,
so
James,
I'm a huge fan.
Are you on all three? Are you going to be on all three EPs?
No, just the third.
Oh, just the third. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, three songs in the third.
The third one's coming up.
Hopefully by November.
Okay, because Sirens was just released today.
Two. Yeah, so we've done a triptych, which is, I'm a big Hieronymus Bosch fan, so I love those little triptychs. So the first one was Beaches in Bali, which we did in July, and then we just brought out Sirens today, and then the next one was going to be called Before the Fall, but it might be called Games. It might be called something else. I keep changing my mind. But
I haven't heard anybody say Hieronymus Bosch for quite some time. Deadbeat Poets had a Hieronymus Bosch song, which
I wonder if he's related to me somehow.
Could be.
They changed their name to Bash.
Because my name should be Bosch, actually. My dad's from Israel, and there's no A phoneme in Hebrew. So when he came to the States, he didn't really know how to spell it using English characters, so he picked an O. Oh no, he picked an A, and people started calling him Bash. And he, instead of correcting like most Israelis, he said, "All right, I'm Bash, whatever." and so that's how that became. Otherwise, I would have been Bosch. So there you go.
That could be cool.
Hey Tim, your lyric writing process. I mean, I'm a big lyrics guy. Some people aren't. Some people love. I love melody and everything involved, but like the very first song that turned me on about Sun Sod in Half was Denny's Girl, which I thought was just fantastic. But on Bewilder Beast with Beholder and His Eye, just slayed me, because I used to always say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It was something I always just said. And when I heard this song, Beholder and His Eye, it just turned my whole head around. I said, how did he think to do that?
I like to turn cliches on their heads.
Yeah.
I think that's from listening to a lot of Elvis Costello and Dylan.
Exactly.
All right.
And reading English literature from the 19th century. I'm a huge Lewis Carroll fan, Charles Dodgson. Playful turns of phrase turn me on, but I'm going to be completely candid and say that it really has a lot more to do with THC.
That's a local fast food restaurant near you, right?
Yeah, the THC.
Hey, can be influenced by substances, so can you, right?
Right. But Denny's Girl is a great story, because Doug and I wrote that when when we were sitting in a Denny's when we were out at Goodnight LA, and we were just thinking, this is a lot of work. What if we just quit everything and just got a job at Denny's to be hanging out with this waitress? Because we were going into the studio every day for a month, and Keith was a taskmaster, and we just thought, let's just blow this off and work at Denny's. So that's where that came about. There was no great, profound revelation.
Did you guys play Poptopia?
Yes.
Yeah. That's where I think
did.
I met you. But not only did you play Poptopia, I remember you guys came to a lot of the shows. And that's where I started noticing Doug when he watched shows, because this is very interesting. I've still never met anybody who watches shows the way Doug does. He stands in one place with his arms folded and the same expression on his face for the whole show. And I could never tell, like, does he like it? Does he hate it? What, you know?
Really?
Sometimes he'd be standing there blankly, and then I'd ask him, well, what'd you think? It was awesome. And it's like, you didn't even change your expression to register that. Yeah. I think that's so cool.
He's the opposite of Beetle Bob.
Oh my God! Don't get me started there.
You know, Beetle Bob's on the song "Devilfish" on Mindflip.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he came in the studio and sang.
Oh.
And there's
For those
a
of you who
pigeon
don't
version
know,
of him.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Beetle Bob is also a St. Louisan who used to come to pop, among other things, used to come to pop shows and stand in front and do his dance, which I can only describe as somebody rolling dice. Well, he would dance around and he would punctuate it with something like that. And I mean, I thought it was all well and good, but it also kind of distracted people from watching the bands, because, you know, how could you not?
Right.
You know, you're obviously going to, you know, you're going to focus on him when he does the shtick. And so I would always try to discourage him from coming to IPO, not because I didn't like him, but I just didn't want that to happen. I wanted people to focus their attention where it rightly belonged, to the artist. But he certainly had a cult following for quite a while.
We did Poptopia. We played with Kara's Flowers in some club. What was the name of the club? I don't remember. It was in LA. And it was when we were doing
Alligator
Fizzy
Lounge?
Lift.
Alligator or a Martini Lounge, maybe?
Yeah, I think it
That
might have
sounds
been
right.
that.
Yeah.
And we had the guys from Cockeyed Ghost
Cockeyed Ghost, yeah, Adam Marsland
playing
and
the
company.
cello. Not Adam, the cellist. I forgot his name.
Oh, I forgot his name. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, and then Probin Gregory playing on trumpet.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And then we did the other IPO, which was outdoors in an arena that we did the Kisser Like You Mean It video from. That you're.
Oh yeah, that was the first year when it was like 105 degrees.
Yeah.
Paul Myers played that one too, and you know his brother Mike, of course, was there. I didn't say hi to him. Did you meet him?
Yeah, we met him, and we also I got to be friends with Jeffrey Foskett then.
Oh
He
yeah,
was a fan of our band, and that sent me on this whole course with Probin and Darian into this Brian Wilson trajectory, which made all my dreams come true. Sitting out and hanging out with Brian a couple times and talking, and the idea that Brian knew who we were really floored me.
Yeah.
really, he did. Wow.
Yeah, I talked to him backstage in New York at BB King's Jazz Club in 2001, where they did the entire Pet Sounds. I had no idea Probin and Jeff were in his band. I lied my way into the show because it was sold out. It was like 200-seat place. And then they came out, and I said, "Oh my God, I know them."
What did you say? How did you lie to get in? I want to learn this technique.
Okay, because I was walking through Central Park. I was there on a work project for Yahoo, and the Village Voice flew in the wind onto my leg, and I lifted up the page, and it said, "Tonight only Brian Wilson performs Pet Sounds." And I thought, are you kidding me? Because I hadn't heard that he had a band, that he was out of Gene Landy's thing. I had no idea. So I called and they said, "Oh no, honey, that's been sold out for days." And I said, okay. And I went there anyway, seeing if I could sneak in, because I used to do that in Chicago to go see bands. And I found out it was a reservation. Like if you're going to a comedy club and you book a table.
There's tables.
So I said, I'm part of the Jones reservation. I said, okay, come on in. And they put me right up in the front, at the front table, and there's 6 seats there, and 5 people show up.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
That worked out so well.
And I said, I'm sorry, I lied my way in. Don't bust me, and I'll buy your drinks. And they said, that's great. And then when I saw Probin and Jeff were there, I wrote a note and I said, I want to come backstage. And so I said, okay, now I can get you backstage too.
Holy cow.
So the whole thing was just magical.
That's amazing.
Well, yeah, it just comes from the Village Voice piece of paper blowing on your leg. Yeah, 1 second difference right there could have made everything. Yeah.
So ask the bobblehead Einstein if that's hokum or science. I'm gonna go with it being just good luck.
Bobblehead Einstein says not science.
It's not science, no.
Not science, no.
But so now that you become this Brian Wilson devotee, what's your favorite period? What's your favorite Beach Boys album? Let's start with that.
Well, I have to say that I agree that the late '60s stuff is magnificent and it wasn't heralded. But hearing Brian in his pure genius prime is the typical Pet Sounds and Smile era stuff. When his engine was burning at the hottest. Watching him perform Smile after Darian helped realize the whole thing with the orchestra was probably the best concert I've ever seen. Heroes and Villains can't be topped for the background. You talk about harmonies that move. You know that.
Yeah.
Don't say I've been wise and healthy, wealthy. That's it for me. But I love all the stuff that came before it as well.
James, have you been indoctrinated into the world of the Beach Boys?
Yeah, in a way. Like one of my favorite songs ever is "Good Vibrations."
Yeah.
I think probably I probably became more enamored in the Beach Boys music before the Beatles. I think I remember listening. Do you know that this is what's weird about music? You can, if you listen to a certain album for over and over and over, you sort of attach certain other senses to it. And for me, I have this sort of best of the Beach Boys album when I was maybe about 11 or 12. And I always attach the taste of bubblegum to it because I can distinctly remember just playing, because I had an old CD player, just had it in my bedroom, and I'd have a little TV in the corner of my room, and I'd play on my PlayStation in the corner, eating bubblegum and listening to Beach Boys, and just from that, I've kind of anytime I hear the I Get Around or something like that, I just have the taste of bubblegum.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Music can really become the soundtrack of your life. I think more than any other experience that you have. Yeah. I'm going to date myself greatly here, but the top 40 radio of 1970 through 74, when I was just kind of coming of age as a preteen into teen years, I mean, when I hear those songs, they take me back to different things. It could be bubblegum, or it could be anything else that I might have done, or things I might have felt, girls that I had crushes on, all kinds of stuff. And there's nothing more beautiful than that to me.
I don't know. I think I can think of one thing that's at least as beautiful, and that is the John Stamos era of the Beach Boys.
Oh my God!
Which I had the good fortune to see this past weekend, and he's a looker.
He's a handsome man.
I cannot stand that smug face he always has. I just want to punch it every time I see it. And I'm not violent in any way, but man, that smile, that look of self-satisfaction of someone who never had a problem in his life and now is like, and has derived the benefits of that in adulthood. I just want to, yeah. And then and he has the audacity to become a Beach Boy. My favorite band getting absolutely tarnished by his presence. No offense, John. You're a pretty decent drummer, but no, your vibe is wrong. All wrong.
Because it's a love thing.
Oh,
that's because Doug just recently saw the Mike Love. What was it called? The Mike Love Disappointment Experience. What was it?
He's a beach old man, and there were he had hired a bunch of Beach Boys. I don't know who else is in that band anymore, but
yeah,
it's funny stuff. Oh, good.
So tell us about the new. Tell us about the new EPs. No short songs on these albums. That's for sure. This is not the new Mind Flip by any stretch.
No, this is the well. Okay, to be fair, we saved all of our short 3.5-minute power pop songs for the third one.
Oh wow!
With the exception of Dry Cherry Blossoms and Out of My Mind, maybe Dear Always, there is more of the Brian Wilson orchestration going on in these. Andy Partridge, definitely. There's a lot of XTC. It's chamber pop, I would say, more so. Beaches in Bali is my homage to T-Rex, because I just wanted to do something a little swaggery. It's like Team Rex meets Kashmir.
There we go.
I just wrote these songs. I don't really know why they sound the way they do. It was just, I got into writing, and I, as Doug said, I put everything together in Logic, and I build the entire song, and then it's made out of demo, and then I use people to make it into something better. And then Doug and I sit down and we analyze it, and we say, okay, does the song really work? Is the melody good? Can we fix it? Anyway, we thought, we've got 20 songs. Let's release it over 3 things. That had more to do with the way people digest music now, which is you've got to keep people entertained and keep them entertained for as long as possible. You release an album, and then a week later it's fallen down the kitchen sink. So we thought, let's just put it in little bite-sized things, 5 songs at a time, 6 songs.
So we're committing right now to 1 EP per every 6 months for the rest of time.
Yeah. And the second EP that's released today, Sirens, starts off with a song that features Lisa Michaels, who
what, Lisa?
You never knew that she's been on other people's records before, but she was actually on Fizzy Lift.
Yeah.
She sings on Mary Celeste. When I say she sings, she and I got bronchitis in Mexico. And Doug and Lisa and I went to Mexico, and we came back sick. And so she was going to sing.
That's never happened to anybody before.
Yeah.
So just for reference sake, I currently have I'm experiencing Mexican sickness at the moment. My girlfriend went to Mexico last week and brought me back a nice COVID-19 gift. So I just found out today. Hooray!
Oh man, we hope you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'm vaccinated. I feel better already.
Good. Good. I thought it was a reaction to the Mike Love concert. You weren't looking too well, so.
Thanks.
Feel better, man.
So the plan is that when you get your third, once you put the third EP online, that you're actually going to release a physical CD with all 3 EPs on them.
Yes, that will probably be a double CD, because it's a lot of music. We have 9 songs slated for the third EP, which kind of pushes it over from what is an EP.
Yeah, I was going to say that's an album.
Yeah, but it's a lot
very
different.
Extended.
The third one is going to be much more rock. It's louder. It's
Nice.
rockier. It's a lot of 3.5-minute songs. So the 9 songs is actually about the same time period as Sirens, 6 songs.
And James makes an appearance on the third one coming up.
Yeah, he's going to be on 3 of them at
3
least.
tracks. Awesome.
I wanted to mention James' music because, like I said earlier, I'm very, very impressed with your stuff. Are you going to be putting out a physical release of any sort? I hope.
Yeah, I will eventually. I think I'm doing a similar sort of thing to what Tim's doing, Tim and Doug, in which like I'm kind of releasing, instead of maybe like EPs, I'm releasing singles with a view to release kind of a bigger album at the end of it and put that in the physical realm.
Nice. Very, very happy to hear that.
Yeah, it worked for Billie Eilish.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to say that when I first listened to James' music, every one of his songs are great. There's no throw out. Okay.
No.
It's like where normally what bores me is when I can tell where the song's going to go and it goes there and then it doesn't take off. It's just always kind of like taxiing, and his songs take off. And then he's got moments in his song, like there's a song "Little Green Light" where it's like "My ways will break for you," and it's like this big whoo. It gave me chills down my spine, and I thought, I'm gonna nick that. That's amazing. I got to figure out what chords those were.
And James, people can find your stuff. Is it on Bandcamp now, or where do you?
Yeah.
It's on Bandcamp. All right.
Yeah, so it's on Bandcamp and Spotify and iTunes and all of those.
All the usual places. Good.
Well, do you still have young man? Do you still have a CD player?
Yeah. I mean, my laptop does house a CD. I do actually have some CDs of mine that I've released, just like small EPs, which I sell on like at live shows. So there are some that like, I think I've got a website where you can get those. JamesHoltmusic.com.
Well, we're looking forward to your ascent in this business because it's pretty clear you've got a very strong following and you've got a lot of really cool, high-profile things coming up. So it's just a matter of time. So if you want to discover a really awesome, vital talent on the ground floor, check out James's music. I'm serious. And then you'll be able to say, like people say with Billie Eilish, you'll be able to say, I knew him when.
That's right.
And if you want to meet check out some geezers still at the top of their game. Doug and I and the Sun. And I also wanted to mention Doug's got a new release out too with the Websters.
Oh, the Websters
which is a Chicago band.
Oh, yeah.
He's just released a new single, and I think you're going to have a full release coming out of that.
Yeah, the release is going to come out. It's just going to be eponymous, called The Websters, and it's coming out, I think, October 15th. And this one was produced by Matt Allison again, and was super fun. We started working on it before COVID, but managed to kind of get things mixed. And we actually played a show a couple weeks ago, so it felt good to play in somebody's backyard. And the new song is out, and check it out. It's on Spotify as well. There's 2 singles out right now from the new record, and the rest of it will come out in October.
Are you still doing solo stuff? Your solo stuff is really soulful.
Oh, thanks.
And I mean that in the more musical sense than the spiritual sense. It reminds me of some of the soul stuff I used to hear in the early 70s. So.
Oh, that's really kind of you to say. I'm sort of still, even at this late date, still sort of finding my own personal voice. I've been singing with Tim and the Websters for a long time, and really have prioritized that stuff, but am working on a lot of things. Tim and I are actually trying to bring a few of my songs to life at the moment, and so we'll see what happens with that. I would love to put a record out.
Wonderful.
I would love nothing more than that, as I'm sure other people feel. And
he's never sounded better. Doug's like whiskey, gets better with age.
Well, for everybody watching and everybody who watches the archives and things, look how much fantastic music is out today and what's coming up in the very near future. I mean, this is what Material Issues is all about. We're talking not only your history, but there's still great stuff going on right now and in the next few months. So, between Sun Sod and Half, between James Holt, between Doug, the Websters, my gosh, people, there's no shortage of incredible music coming up. So I hope you all check it out.
It's like what I always say, anybody who thinks there's no good music around now isn't trying very hard. Believe me, it's out there. Lots and lots of it.
Yeah,
and as Mark said, we try to provide some inroads to that to people who are really curious and do want to hear some really good melodic music. It's still here.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for having us on. We really appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for doing this.
Thank you guys for being here. Tim, Doug, James, good luck with everything in the future. We look good luck with Sirens coming out today, and we look forward to the third EP and everything. And to seeing you guys again. Hopefully at IPO Chicago next year.
Awesome.
Got it.
And James in Liverpool at the Cavern. We're already excited about that. So.
What an absolute pleasure, my friends! An absolute pleasure. This has been a thrill talking to you live online here. As a big fan of Sun Sod and Half for many years. Well, happy 30th anniversary, 30 years. Fantastic. And James, I can't wait. I can't wait for the future and everything coming out from you as well, my friend. Stay the course and keep putting out some great things. Really looking forward to it. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
You
too. You guys are fantastic. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
See you again soon. Stay happy, stay healthy. Doug, feel better.
Thank you very much, guys. Yep.
See you
Thank
later.
you.
See you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye, gentlemen.
Well, there you have it, David. Episode number 15 was in the books with the Sun Sod in Half and James Holt. Wow.
Yeah. That good stuff.
What a great show.
It was. It really was.
Again, I just sit here and I go, that was just wonderful. So
again, it's all due to our guests because, you and I don't know what we're doing.
We have no idea what we're doing. We just try to look our best and hope for the best.
Really.
But it is up to our guests. And again, a lot of great stuff that's always come out from the Sun Sod and Half. A lot of great things coming out in the future. And speaking of the future, stay tuned to our Facebook group. If you're not a member of it, join the group so you get notified. Or go over to materialissues.com, which will take you to the YouTube site, and see what's coming up. Hopefully next week we have Frank Hammersland of Pogo Pops and Popium and numerous other things out of Bergen, Norway. And then coming up down the line, we got some things going on.
Yeah, September 8th, we're working on getting another guest who many of you know, and who also has some new music coming out in the form of an album. And hopefully we can get him because, he's an awesome singer-songwriter musician and would have a lot to talk about. So probably by next week, we'll have an idea if he's going to be on. And then September 15th, we have Bruce Brodeen for his second part because there's no way we could contain him in one episode. It's impossible.
I'm looking forward to part 2 with Bruce as well. That's going to be awesome. And we may have coming up after that an all-girl band, which some people may be familiar with. We're not going to say anything definite yet, but we may have that soon.
We sure hope so.
We sure hope so. But David, as always, an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Likewise, Mark. I look forward to this every week. It's fun. It's almost as much fun doing it as it is watching it, or is it almost as much fun watching it? I don't know.
It depends.
It's of one. Albert, what do you think? What do you enjoy watching it more than doing it? Yeah, you're shy. I know.
You're shy. He doesn't say much.
You'll get used to it because I'm going to be bringing you on several episodes. So you'll enjoy doing it more than watching it one day. You don't think so, huh? All right. Well,
he's still shaking from the thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to prove my theory to you. Get it?
With that, we're gonna say good night. David, we'll see you same bat time, same bat station. Wait, is that copyrighted? We'll have to kill that. Next week, David.
I don't think we'll be getting sued by Bill Dozier. We're okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.